is not what it's been led to be. And
I know it makes
this
for
is
very...
a serious issue. This is a serious issue.
Very comical. It makes for very comical Monty Python skits. What about you?
Well,
how would you describe it?
I have witnessed the secret and have exposed myself to it. And there's different ways of exposing yourself to this information. One way is that there are people who know this secret knowledge that the Black Death was a concoction of anthrax from the elite dispersed into the populations. And these people, they're not allowed to directly say this information because it goes against the ethical code that they're impacted with being in these organizations in the first place. So that's a way to discover the secret, is there are writers who write about it, but they don't write about it directly. They write about it indirectly. And they hint to it. Like different medical historians from the past, like writers from the 1700s and 1800s who were involved in these powerful families, have like hinted towards this process. And when you look into it, it makes a lot of sense. Like, did you hear of how during the colonialism of Western Canada, like when the European powers started coming over to Western Canada, they put smallpox in the blankets of the First Nations people?
I've heard about that.
And they put the smallpox disease in the blankets and
in order
to
sell. Yeah, it's like the first documented case of biological warfare, isn't it?
No. Biological warfare has been going on for as long as warfare.
Well, like,
and that's the point of the Black Death, is that the Black Death was biological warfare.
Really?
Yes, because the areas that were being attacked with the Black Death were areas that were starting to convey away from Christianity. Like, it was a lot in the southern France areas, like Avignon, and like different cities down there like Marseille, probably.
Gaspé area?
And those places were being targeted on purpose. And so the disease is proven to not have spread in the way it should have spread if it was traveling along the trade routes, following products. It spread in a more definitive way where it was targeting more main center, and there was huge areas in between that weren't being affected, yet the products were being transported through that. And they were in the main centers like Florence and Avignon and Paris, or actually I don't even know if it was in Paris.
It was in Norway.
It circled around. And in each different place, there's different diagnoses. And now this is the main piece of evidence that supports this claim, and it's to do with the symptoms of the disease. And now what's commonly thought and commonly propagated is that the disease created these huge, large lumps on your body, the Black Death, the bubonic plague. That your body broke out into these large lumps. Well, they broke out underneath your arms and in your groins and in these different lymphoid areas. But what's not so often revealed is that most cases of the Black Death during that time period were recorded as a respiratory disease. And it was that once they were poisoned, they became really sick, ill, like the flu, and then their lungs, they started to cough up, and it was like respiratory. It was like if you took bleach and drank bleach. You know what I mean? It's like if you inhaled bleach for like an hour or whatever, your body's gonna defunct. So this is the evidence that I'm getting at, is that commonly relayed is that there was this Black Death and it was this horrible death, this deformity death, but really the main symptoms were respiratory, and that's prevalent throughout all the cases across Europe and in Asia. And so that's something that needs to be looked at, and obviously as my medical historians, we're amateur here, but what I'm saying is that in relation to, so there's that piece of evidence. Then this is the second piece of evidence. It's anthrax. You learn about anthrax. So what is anthrax? It's the most prevalent bacterium in the soil. Anthrax is everywhere. But cultured and nurtured anthrax is very poisonous, and there's two kinds. There's when you inhale anthrax, and what happens is you get very similar to what was being recorded during the Black Death. You get like this coughing, the spitting of blood, the loss of breathing, and then after like 3 or 4 or 5 days, you break down and die. If you get then the second type of anthrax is if you get it on your skin, and if you get it on your skin, what happens is it festers, and then after a while it starts to bulb up until it turns into this really hard black ball, and then I guess if you cannot remove the infection, you die. But those are the two types: the inhalation anthrax, or the digestion of anthrax through water, drinking wells, and then anthrax on your skin, which what happens is cuts well up and make these big black bulbs on your skin. So if there was anthrax being released and it was prevalent in the waters and people had cuts and it was getting into their cuts, then that could explain the black bulbs. But the black bulbs are rarely discussed in like fundamental, like first-hand literature or like documents. So the comparison to anthrax to the disease of the Black Death is a given. It's not a given, but
it's a possibility.